Welcome to episode 11 of the Social Currency Series, your show for tech, venture, and entertainment. I'm your host, Darren. I'm joined by my co-host,
Lo, Dom.
And as you can see today, we have an exciting guest. Wadnes, you can introduce yourself to the audience.
What's up, y'all? My name is Wadnes Castelly. Super happy to be here and looking forward to having a great conversation with you all.
Woo! Look, we're super excited to be here today.
Energy.
Yeah, first episode of 2025. We have a lot to talk about today, a lot of exciting things in the industry. But of course, we want to kick off with our guests. Tell the audience who you are and what you're building. And I guess your aha moment for what you're building. Let's just jump right in.
All right, cool. So again, my name is Wadnes Castelly, and I'm the founder of KAPAB Marketing Consultancy, where we help early stage startups leverage cultural insights to build go-to-market strategies to win customers and drive sustainable growth. And the aha moment came for me was during my time working at TikTok. And I was thinking to myself, like, the work that I'm doing in product marketing is pretty cool, but what if I was able to take this and apply it to my community? Early stage startups, specifically from diverse, underserved communities. Mm-hmm. And that made me think to myself, like, I'm looking forward to connecting the dots and see what I can make here. And KAPAB is something that I've been thinking about for quite a few years now, and looking forward to building more with it. So excited to share with you all.
All right, let's dial it back a little bit. So the audience has no idea who you are and why you're qualified to build this product. Can you give us a little bit of your journey?
Let's take it back to the 90s. It's like, nah. But I'll just give you my career story to date. So again, I'm from Jersey, born and raised, son of Haitian immigrants.
Okay.
And went to and traditional background for the most part, public school, went to college, Rutgers University, studied marketing,
Jersey.
Concentration, entrepreneurship.
Okay.
And I knew since my early years in high school that I wanted to pursue a career within marketing, because I remember playing football in high school, and I had teammates.
You play football?
I played football.
What position you play?
I played DB, defensive back, cornerback.
Okay, so you was strapped, so you was locking shit down.
So this is a time when like Darrell Revis was causing trouble with the Jets, and everybody was talking about Revis Island. So like,
I was a big,
nah. It wasn't saying all that. But I remember, I think it might have been my junior year, and we're getting ready for a game, and like the star players on my team, they were arguing so passionately about like, oh, who looks the rawest, who looks the coolest, right? I got my Nike gear, I got my Vapor Max, I got my Adidas, and I'm like, yo, what are these brands doing to get these 16 and 17-year-old kids from the inner city to argue so passionately, right?
I like that
and
fact.
that made me curious, and I was like, well, okay, curiosity bugs here. Let me look into this further, and I realized it talked a lot about like consumer behavior. I went down that rabbit hole, and that led me to marketing.
Yeah.
So by the time it was like open house to like visit colleges and whatnot, I went to Rutgers Business School with my father. Open house, met some of the faculty, and I was like, you know what? I think I want to go here. And went to school, studied marketing, had internships at a few spots like Showtime Networks, the Brooklyn Nets and Barclays Center. Okay. And I realized, okay, the media entertainment side of business is where I want to be. And once I graduated, the rest was history.
I like that. Kind of just so what was like the tell me about your like experience on like studying at Rutgers, and how you said you was in the entrepreneurship side. Did you have any businesses while you were in college? Did you like try to jumpstart anything while you were in college? Because you got into entrepreneurship pretty early. So tell us about some early stage projects that you worked on while you were at Rutgers.
Yeah, so I was at Rutgers for 4 years, and I declared my concentration in entrepreneurship probably towards my sophomore year.
Okay.
And I had 3 classes, and one of my favorite classes was like managing ventures. And at the time, the whole class was centered around like Shark Tank style, right? Yeah. You work with your classmates, and you guys have to pitch a project to your classmates by the end of the semester. And at the time, I had a dope ass idea. I wish I executed it, because after I graduated, I saw a lot of people with the idea. And I'm like, damn, I could have been a billionaire by now, right? So here's the game plan. So again, I lived on campus, right, in college. And I used to struggle commuting all the way back home just to get a haircut, right? So I tried going to barbers around campus, but I didn't trust them, right? They messed up my hairline, they didn't do it right and stuff like that. So my idea was, instead of me physically going to the barbershop, what if the barbershop came to me on campus?
Okay, so you was thinking
right?
mobile.
So I'm thinking like, we got food trucks. What if we had like a food truck mixed with a barbershop, right?
Interesting.
So you have barbers in the truck pull up to your dorms outside, text you or whatever, and be like, yo, I'm outside. You want to like make your appointment to get a haircut, get a shape up? And I thought that was a brilliant idea, but again, I didn't execute on it. So that was probably my only regret, because I had the faculty, I had the staff, but I wasn't on it at the time.
Were you thinking about it from a technological standpoint, like having an app, or just more of like the conceptual part? I know you didn't like execute, but you said you were like pitching it. So just wondering, like, I'm trying to basically see if you were already had the foresight to be like, okay, I could turn this into like an app, or I could turn this into like a website landing page where people just download or go to the web landing page, make an appointment right there, boom, they got an appointment.
Yeah, it was definitely theoretical and conceptual at the time.
Okay.
Like as soon as I had the idea, that's all that happened. It was just an idea,
Okay.
right? And it didn't really manifest until I'm like scrolling on Twitter and I saw someone in the UK actually do it.
Interesting.
And I'm like, oh damn, I guess I was onto something.
So you knew you was kind of thinking on the right track.
Yeah, I definitely had that entrepreneurial thinking at the time, and it wasn't until later on where I met a few mentors that definitely made the bug a little bit stronger for me.
You want to shout out those mentors at all?
Oh yeah, for sure. I would definitely say like Brian and Justin Gerard, the founders of Bay. Bay was an acronym for Before Anyone Else, and it was a dating app specifically for the Black community. There was like a stat that came out that a lot of people of color couldn't find success on Tinder. So they basically found it upon themselves to develop an app to really change the game. And having Brian as my mentor through a program I was a part of called America Needs You, which provides mentorship for first generation college students.
Okay.
They paired me with Brian, and literally I watched him up close and personal launch his app, right? Literally quit his job at Nielsen to go all in with his app. And his app got acquired, literally changed his life. And the fact that he was my mentor and I saw that up close and personal, I was like, damn, it's one thing to learn about entrepreneurship in school and watching Shark Tank, but to know a guy that literally changed his life based off that is different.
Yeah.
That's funny. I got a question. So tell me, like, you know, a lot of people want to get into entrepreneurship. You know, a lot of people want to, venture out into new things. Tell me, with connecting with your mentor, like, tell me then a couple of things that's really important about having a mentor or just mentorship in general. Because I'm pretty sure you're kind of starting to get established in what you're doing. Are you looking to pass that, pay it forward? Or just tell me about, how your mentors paid it forward for you.
Yeah, definitely. I think mentorship is key, right? I think we can all be better at whatever we're doing with a mentor, someone that can advise us on some of the pitfalls or struggles or obstacles that might be in front of us. So for me, mentorship really meant about giving me insights to things that I don't even know about. So sometimes we may have questions or we may not even know what questions to ask. And for me, having a mentor that can say like, hey, young grasshopper, I see you're very ambitious. I see what you got going on. Let me school you on a couple of things that you may not be privy to because, you're just so green and you haven't had a lot of life experience to see things differently. So whether it was mentors from an academic standpoint, like I'm in college and I'm looking at upperclassmen who had a few courses or classes that I'm looking to take and get game from them, or just mentors from the job standpoint, working in corporate America and being one of few Black males on your team, who do you look for guidance, right? Not to say that the person that you're looking for guidance has to look like you, but someone you feel trusted to say hey, I'm new here. I don't know what's up, what's down. I literally want to learn how to put my best foot forward here and learn from them. So I definitely do think that there's a level of humility you should have to just be able to talk to someone and say hey, I don't know what I don't know. And I'm willing to be humble to just ask you, is there anything that I'm currently doing that you recommend I should change? Any things that you've learned in the past that doesn't work, that does work, and just listen and learn. I feel like a lot of young people these days, they do more talking than listening. And there's some quote that says, there's a reason why God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth,
Yeah.
right? So you should listen more than you talk. And for me, anytime I have the opportunity to sit down with someone who's either done it before or has experience, my goal isn't to do all the talking. My goal is to listen. I may have a couple of questions here and there, but I'm here to listen and learn and basically take up game from them. So that's my mentality when it comes to mentorship.
You actually so I'm gonna switch it up on you. So we're kind of gonna talk about this a little bit later, because with the rise of AI and everybody using AI, what's the value in a mentor? If I could just go to an LLM and just ask it a question and it could just tell me, tell me an answer. I don't have to wait to go. I don't have to wait to go to anybody. I could just ask the computer, not the computer, but the large language model, essentially anything, and it could come up with a comprehensive answer. So how do you incorporate new tools and balance of like, okay, I need real maybe life experiences from somebody that's actually went through it, or just going to this, this database per se or LLM and getting all the information yourself? Like, how do you balance that, or like, how would you balance that going forward?
I mean, that's a deep question right there. I definitely want to know what y'all take on it. But I mean, at a high level,
we can talk about that too.
I mean, before I answer it, like, we'll love to get y'all thoughts. What do you think?
Man, I want to focus on you real quick.
Okay.
I'm sorry, just to switch gears because I want to go before we're gonna come back to that, Loli. But I wanted to touch on, because you said you listened for the mentorship. Mm-hmm. So in high school, when everybody was trying to compete with the brands and saying, I got this, I got that, you took a different route.
Oh, yeah.
And you said, man, what are these guys doing that's causing this reaction? Mm-hmm. So now you've parlayed that into college, into going into finding a mentor like Brian, right? Mm-hmm. So I just want to commend you on that line of thinking, to go from that in high school where everybody's trying to be the best on the field and off the field look the best, mm-hmm. to take that line of thinking, to go do the research, to put yourself in position to get to the place you got to at Rutgers. Yeah. So not to go into the workforce, what was the thing that made you go from, okay, I did the research, now I want to go into this line of work, and how was that? I know you had several experiences that make you want to be a consultant, so what was kind of that starting point for that?
Yeah, great question. So for me, again, playing high school football, had the opportunity to start my senior year, and literally decided to quit the football team probably 2 months into the season, because I had the opportunity to join a 12-week program that would guarantee me a paid summer internship. Okay. Right? It's called the All-Stars Project, where I'm now a board member of that nonprofit.
Oh, no.
And to give you context, I'll give you context. Appreciate it. And just to give you context, so All-Stars Project is pretty much like a nonprofit that provides after-school development and performance for inner-city youth through the power of performance. So pretty much one of their flagship program is called Development School for Youth, DSY. And pretty much it's like a leadership program for like 8 to 12 weeks. And they teach you everything from like your resume, dressing for success, mock interviews, networking, all of like the foundational stuff that you need to be a business professional. They basically teach you. And upon successful completion of the program, you get a paid summer internship with their partner companies.
Oh, wow.
So for me, I was like, okay, nice playing football in high school or doing this program, which is going to be more beneficial for me long term. Okay. Because I know I'm not going D1, right? So I was like, okay, I'm not going to like do this football stuff and try to be a celebrity or like peak in high school. That ain't it for me. So doing that program and going to college and being able to get an internship at AIG at like, 18, 19 years old.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And I'm like, okay, I'm in Wall Street, right? Mind you, I had a high top fade at the time, right? I didn't know how to necessarily dress working at Wall Street, but it was a learning curve. And I think for me, getting that exposure at a young age taught me a lot. So having that experience of being on Wall Street at like my freshman year of college, coming back to college my sophomore year, my mentality is different, right? Because I'm seeing people making 6 figures, making all this money, and I'm still a kid. And I'm like, okay, well, if I'm in college, this is my playground to make stuff happen. Yep. I don't know if I could curse or not, but I was going to say, like, I can make ish happen, right? Yeah. So essentially, my goal was like, okay, I got 3 years left here in college, right? How can I maximize these 3 years, right? I'm at the business school, internships, get my grades up, I'm focused. So after having that first internship, I realized, okay, I don't like insurance. I don't like financial services. That ain't for me. How can I get into like the business side of sports, media, entertainment? So I hustled my way to getting an internship with the Brooklyn Nets and Barclays Center. That whole internship was a story, right? High level, I skipped class on a Friday, went to a networking event in the city. The senior vice president of marketing for the Brooklyn Nets and Barclays Center was one of the speakers. Wow. I sat in the second row, right? Q&A happened. I'm raising my hand, thinking that he's gonna like pick on me. He never picked on me. My friend at the time was like, hey, he's about to leave. Maybe you could like reach him at the lobby and talk to him. I said, why not, right? So mind you, I'm deep in the row. Yeah. I stand up, I make a scene because the next speaker is talking. And I'm like, excuse me. I come out, walk all the way around, and I see Randy Lewis in the lobby. And again, did my elevator pitch. I was ready, right? Yeah. I was asking him questions. And I guess he felt my energy. And at the last question I asked was like, hey, do you guys offer like any type of like job shadows, anything like that? So he kind of sensed where I was coming from. He was like, we don't do that, but we do offer internships. He gave me his business card, and I ran back to my dorm, sent him my resume, The rest was history. And I got my first internship just off of that.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's a crazy follow up at that age too.
Yeah.
You'd be like, oh, I got the.
And the reason
business
why
card.
I felt
Yeah.
so passionate, because I was like, I got nothing to lose. I skipped class. I took
Yeah.
the PATH train. I came all the way out here.
Yeah.
I was like, I have nothing to lose. Like, me not shooting my shot is the equivalent of me not even being here. I could just stayed in my
I
stayed,
like
stayed
that.
on campus.
That's a bar right there. That's a
So
bar
it all
right there.
worked out. So I really appreciate him and everyone that supported me getting that internship, because it was a journey, for
I
sure.
like that.
Hopefully that answered your question, but it's
No, that was
Nah,
Yeah.
yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Just
Love
kind
the story.
of just getting on your, just kind of just understanding your way of thinking, and you're already thinking marketing in high school, and you know, some people are just consumers, and you're trying to think like, what are they doing to trigger that emotional sentiment that makes me want to even go buy something. I don't think people look at it like that. Even as an adult, some people don't even, you know, get that deep and look at it. So just having that thought process is interesting, and kind of like I'm glad that you're able to kind of like
I appreciate that.
talk through that, because you know, it speaks to your confidence, because I like how, because what you just said, confidence and going for it, and how you got your first internship. I think that's something that we need to kind of get back to more, as people, as young entrepreneurs are aspiring to go places. When you go to like these conferences and you go to these meetups, you got to take advantage of being in person.
Absolutely.
I think sometimes we get a little distracted because we're always behind the screen majority of the time, that we kind of feel like, oh no, we can just connect after, but like that in real life moment is still like the most ideal and precious moments. I feel like we should cherish a little bit.
Facts.
Now the framework too. You didn't once mention, I'm pursuing this because I think it's going to pay me a lot of money. It's like, I understand the business side of it. The business is interesting.
Yeah.
And it's something I could see myself doing long term. I think that's super important. Like people say, you know, chase your passions and what you like. But I feel like you discovered that pretty early, which is also very impressive.
Yeah, no, it definitely was. I think for me, getting exposed to like the business of business definitely inspired me to do it, because growing up, I remember my dad actually taught me how to, like, you know, write in a checkbook, how to write a check, right? So being able to like know that at a young age, and then ask myself, okay, well, I'm going to college. What exactly do I want to study that's going to be beneficial for me long term? And I remember literally being in the gym, right, and asking myself, like, I'm taking all these gen ed classes I could care less about, right? What exactly am I passionate about that if I wasn't in school, I'd still be doing? And I said to myself, I'd probably be listening to music, watching ESPN, right, doing some sports-related stuff, like, you know, fashion, whatever like that. So I was like, why not just learn the business side of the things that you would naturally consume? Because I feel like that's going to give me longevity beyond college and beyond where I'm at right now.
Makes a lot of sense.
And that's how you learn about investing too, and those type of.
Oh yeah, for sure. Learning about investing and pretty much just identifying like, okay, where do I see myself later in life, and how can I optimize for it by filling in the gaps now? I may not have all the resources, but I know the areas that I'm not necessarily strong in, and I can then identify people that can support me in those spaces.
Okay.
So you talked about gaps. You have something to say?
You can go.
So I know you were working in corporate before you started consulting. So what exactly in those, like TikTok and those roles, did you see that you could bring to the community?
Oh, for sure. So after college, pretty much, my first full-time job was at Hypebeast, you know, digital media publishing company. Worked as a coordinator on the brand partnerships team. And just being in that space, definitely learned a lot about like digital media, digital advertising, right? Really foundational things. And I remember at the time, I had like, you know, a few contacts reach out to me like, oh, you work at Hypebeast, right? So can you help me with marketing for my business? And I was like, yeah, for sure, I can help you out. And at the time, and looking back, I was able to help that person, but only in theory, right? Give you some advice, give you some like frameworks, things of that nature. Looking back, that person wanted like practical support, tangible, right? They wanted like, hey, I need you to help me develop a funnel for my business. I need you to help me create like a landing page. I don't just need theory. I need you actually executing for me, right? And at the time, I couldn't deliver that. So I took it personal. I said, what does it mean to work at a cool company if you can't take what you're doing on the job and apply it practically for people outside?
That's fair.
Right? And to me, it's like you don't really know your craft and you don't really know your stuff if you can't do it outside of the infrastructure of a job. So I took that personally, specifically when the pandemic hit, right? A lot of people were furloughed, they got fired, they did not have a job. Essential workers had to physically risk their lives to go outside just to earn money for their families. I'm watching news and I'm seeing like, you know, women, specifically, you know, people in our community, right? crying because they lost their job at the airport and they don't know how they're going to provide for their kids.
Yeah.
And I said to myself, like, damn, like, that could have easily been me, right? And I remember at the time, my barber, he's been cutting my hair since I was in high school. And he said to me when I first got my hair cut, when the pandemic eased up a little bit, he said, it's fortunate that you were able to like sit at home and still collect a paycheck, because you were able to go to school, get an education, and work with your brain, not with your muscles and whatnot.
Exactly.
And I didn't take that for granted, right? So I said to myself, like, now because I'm working in this space and I'm doing well, like, how can I take these learnings and apply it with or without a job? So that really inspired me to just really learn about my craft, like take courses, read books, podcasts, all that type of stuff, to make sure that I'm not relying on like, oh, I have a degree in marketing, so I know my stuff.
Yeah.
You can have a degree in a topic, doesn't mean you're an expert, right? So for me, I said to myself, like, just because I have a degree in marketing doesn't mean like I'm nice in marketing.
Yeah.
I really want to understand this from like a practical standpoint. So the next time somebody reaches out to me, I can literally execute for them and help them. So that's pretty much was the birth of me wanting to be a consultant and advising people, to say to myself, like, if I was able to secure jobs at like Hypebeast, Spotify, and TikTok, how can I reverse engineer what I was hired to do to then apply that to someone else, right? And be an expert at what I do, and not just someone that's relying on the brand to say, hey, I can do it for my job, but I can't do it for you individually.
Hold on, we not gonna gloss over that question that I asked earlier about the AI mentorship, but we gonna come back to that. But I did want to just quick follow up on that. Tell us about the transition from working in corporate into entrepreneurship. Like, what was the little challenges that you went through? Just for people that are aspiring to do that, or people that are doing it already right now. Like, what was probably the biggest hurdles that you had to overcome in transitioning into that?
I mean, so many. There's so many things I can talk about, but I think that it all boils down to like your mindset, right? If your mindset isn't right, then it's gonna be hard for you to do anything subsequent from that. So like being able to not think like an employee, but as like a business owner, right? Because when you're an employee, you have a manager that's telling you what to do, more or less, right? Checking in on you, that type of stuff. But when you are a business owner or someone that's like, hey, I gotta eat what I kill, so to speak, right? And if I don't kill, we're not eating today, right? That's a mentality shift. And you got to be able to tell yourself, okay, what is a problem that I am confident that I can solve, right? That someone would pay me for, cash money, liquid, right? And I can deliver on. So for me, it was like, okay, I know what I was doing in my day job, but how would I apply it to the average person? And who would actually need the service, right? Because these days, everyone could say, I have AI. I don't need a consultant. I don't need this person. I can do it myself. Oh, there's all these different websites where I can build a website like in 2 minutes. But is it quality? Can it convert, right? Does it really speak to your value of what your product can do? So for me, I think it's definitely a mindset shift is number one.
Okay.
2 is also just being real with yourself, an inventory of what is your skills? Like, what can you actually do and deliver? Because I've seen so many people on LinkedIn like, hey, I'm announcing X, Y, and Z. You check out their website. It's like a menu of all these different services. So you're telling me you're an expert at all these things? Yeah. That's crazy. That's wild, right? And it's just you? Yeah, all right. Okay. Right? So for me, I think it's important to really niche down at what exactly is your offer, right? Like, can you explain it specifically? Like, I help X audience deliver this result by doing this, right? Being very clear and concise. Because
value proposition.
Exactly, with your value prop, because your offer may not be for everybody, but the more laser focused you are, the more niche of our audience will say, wow, that's definitely for me, and I'm going to buy that.
If you're comfortable, dive into your value proposition and how you help founders.
So the way that I help founders is by being able to leverage cultural insights to basically inform their go-to-market strategy to win customers. And when I say cultural insights, oftentimes you see a lot of brands and business say, oh, we want to push culture. We want to do X, Y, Z in culture. What does that mean tangibly? Like, what does that mean? Because again, culture is very vague and broad.
It is.
What is it? Popular culture? What is it? Corporate culture? What is it? Is that just like a synonym for like multiculturalism? Like, what exactly do you mean by culture? Because I feel like sometimes when people say culture, they just like akin that to like black people or like minorities, right? When you see culture. But to me, culture means a different thing. And shout out to Marcus Collins. I actually took his course and read his book called For the Culture, and how brands can unlock the power of influence. And essentially what I learned through his course was that culture is a meaning-making system. So depending on how you see the world, different things will mean different things to you. So why do you like what you like? Why do you do what you do? And why do you believe what you believe? That all boils down to the cultural belief that you have, right? I can say for myself, being first generation, parents of Haitian immigrants, right? There's certain things that only someone that had the same upbringing with me will understand. You know, the affiliation that we have with rice all the time, right? Or like how if your mom has a dream about you the night before, you may not want to go out the next day, right?
There's just
there's just certain things that people know, like, hey, if you're from that culture, you get it, right? So the same thing applies to the clothes you wear, right? What you deem professional. That all speaks to like some sort of cultural belief that we all adopted that governs how we see the world. And when people see the world the same way with us, we'd be like, yo, you get me, bruv, right? And that's how you build community. But essentially helping founders leverage that type of information, that cultural insight, to then inspire what kind of go-to-market strategy they develop to get customers.
Yeah, you can type that in a prompt. It's just you can. It's not going to come out that way.
It's not going to come out clean like that.
Or it's not, or I shouldn't say it's not going to come out clean like that. It's not. It'll come out, but how are you? I think the reason why I asked that is because it's that kind of ties back to the question I was saying, is because when you use these prompts to get information or to generate content or information, I think it's more about the execution of the content being generated. Mm-hmm. So that's where I was saying, how do you balance the information that you receive from like a LLM and opposed to information you may receive from somebody that has experience? Because I think it's the executional part. They both are going to have information, but who's going to be better at helping you execute? Mm. That's like the question, I guess.
You said
to anybody.
So mentorship is still valuable in that area because, like you said, it's different to see somebody actually go to market and launch it and change their life. So that's he's gonna know things that Siri or whoever is not gonna tell you, right? So that a person, an actual real life person, still, like we always say, is very valuable. But for quick tasks, that's what the Chat GPTs and the Open AI. I think that's what they're probably most useful for.
Ideating as well too.
Yeah,
I think ideating and kind of like documenting certain things, but I don't know. It's getting good now. It's also doing reasoning. So now it actually has thoughtful responses. Yeah. Like the deep think on like the Grok and now you could now you could search the web. So now they're citing sources. So I think it's gonna get more credible. And I think it's just good to like kind of leverage, because sometimes when we have access to mentors or people that are experienced, they may not be at the, for lack of a better word, they may not just be at the speed dial. Yeah. But now you essentially have an assistant or something that it's kind of more in depth and more in depth than like a regular Google search. It gives you like outcome. It could give you like outcomes. So like, I think the biggest thing that we probably need to leverage and still doing that is the executional part. So it's going to give us kind of the output that we're looking for, but how do we then execute it? I think that's where the human intervention and that's where the human aspect is still very valuable.
I agree with that. And I think that value proposition that you're providing is super unique and it's going to be super beneficial. So
yeah, no, I appreciate that. And just to like add on, I think that everyone has their own definition of strategy. Like, what does strategy mean to you, right?
Yeah. I
fall under the camp of saying that, execution should be built into the strategy, right? So like, strategy doesn't exist if you're not talking about execution. If you're just talking about like, this is my idea, and you're not even like talking about what execution can possibly look like, then you don't got a strategy, right? Like, execution is baked into the definition of strategy, in my opinion, because that will force you to start thinking about, okay, how feasible is this, and where do I start? Right? What is like the 80-20 aspect to this? Like, what is the 20% that I can focus on that'll give me 80% of the result I'm looking for, and I can just lock in on that? That's a good strategy.
I agree with that. We're getting some of the other some other topics as well too.
Yeah, let's start to transition a little bit, but this is a good transition into the latest investment by, I guess, Meta and Google. They recently invested $320 billion into AI, which is, again, makes sense, right? I understand why they're going in the direction. I think last year in 24 and 23, Meta lost a substantial amount of money investing in AI. We know this, right?
Yeah.
In the metaverse specifically.
I remember that,
right?
yeah.
It didn't really work out.
Didn't pan out.
You're now like doubling down or tripling down now in 2025. Everyone has done their, standard layoffs, transitions into different projects they're going to be looking to build upon.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're saying, okay, you're Meta, I'm going to invest an additional $70 billion to build what exactly? Because we're not doing a metaverse anymore. Is it really for AI? Like infrastructure? Like, are you trying to expand with like centers? Because what product that currently exists for Meta today needs a $70 billion investment? So I kind of throw it to the group right now.
Yeah.
I personally feel like the investment is too high. I definitely think we should be investing and maybe building out infrastructure. I feel similarly to like the EV space and building out basically Tesla's supercharging network. Like, how do we build out the infrastructure for the electrical vehicles? So someone said, hey, we're going to invest $500 billion into this space. That makes a lot of sense. Mm-hmm. Let's get everything stood out so it can be supported. Dialing back and saying, okay, $320 billion to AI still makes sense to me if we're building out the architecture and how to support this for the future, because it does cost a lot to run. How can we make it cheaper? But if we're saying it's $320 million for features,
I don't think when they're talking about like CapEx like that, I don't necessarily think it's for just specifically features.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're really focused on building out the infrastructure, like data centers.
They want to corner the market.
Having electricity, to the grid, updating the power grids to be able to handle this type of compute of the Internet of Things. So like having everything super connected. So, but now the question I would say is like, that's a substantial amount of money. How are we using that money or some of that money to not only for the data centers, but to, maybe upskill your current workforce, or maybe upskill, people that are looking to get into these AI jobs. So I think that's something that we probably made that, maybe companies, I don't know if they want to promote or, there's definitely learnings out there, but
that's true.
It's more, I think it's more on the person too. But I think the initial investments are kind of just more of like focused on the infrastructure. So basically, if you're building a house, how are we building the foundation? How are we building the walls and everything first before we start to inhabitate it with people and the features, I guess, and things that people will use? I'm assuming that's where the initial big investment is.
Yeah, Microsoft's doing 80 billion, Google's doing 75. I think Meta's around 60, 65, and their data center supposedly can power like Manhattan or something. Which is kind of crazy.
Hold on. Yeah. We got to talk about, I know this is like kind of like new news as well too, like recent news. Does these CapEx change because of the whole new China startup that came out with the DeepSeek that kind of launched some similar product, but they used a lot less money? So now does that change? How does that change the game for people?
That's interesting. There's another company that came out actually after DeepSeek. I can't remember what it's called, but it does something similar. It's as performant. And it's pretty interesting when you say, well, we only use less than $20 million to build this, and you need to build out your infrastructure and spend $60 billion. What is Meta today too? Like what kind of company are they? Like, they're not a social media network anymore. So I think it's time to kind of, they have obviously done this already. Yeah. But I think as consumers too, we need to stop referring to them as a social media company.
Of course.
They're not a social media company anymore.
Yeah,
Microsoft, they are who they are. Like,
so what would you call them?
Meta?
A data storage.
Yeah, they're not a consumer company anymore to me. They make consumer products, right? But they also make hardware, the collaboration with like Ray-Bans, like they were going with the VR, the Oculus. They're building things. They're building things.
And the fact that we can't label Meta is a clear case of a positioning challenge that they have, right?
Yeah.
Because how would you anchor them if you're talking to someone who isn't quite familiar with Meta, just to be able to give them a reference point for them to understand what Meta is doing these days?
Yeah, I think majority of consumers would say that's where I use like Instagram, or I use them for WhatsApp if you have like a business, or you're talking to people who are international, which make a lot of money on WhatsApp. That's like their super app, right? And then you think about maybe folks who are more in the gaming space, and like, oh, I love Oculus and I want to use this thing. And folks who are early adapters to the Ray-Ban collaboration, liking like the computer vision, what they're using there to like actually shoot video and store it on a cloud. And then you say, well, they also have Llama, which is their LLM. I think that's open source.
It is.
Now again, Metaverse didn't really work out, but it's like, well, we can't let ChatGPT or OpenAI beat us, right? Or Anthropic beat us.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's the direction they're going in now. It's like they're still chasing AI and they're like, okay, let's go build it. My fear for them is the other companies kind of have something to stand on. Like if you're Google, you have other things. Like you're already in the cloud space. You know, Microsoft, you're already in the cloud space. Amazon, already in the cloud space.
AWS. Yeah.
Meta is not in the cloud space. It's very strange to go and build out data centers for your tools. I get it though. No, you know, you're not dependent on anyone. And it's
I mean, but they have the. But I would say, I mean, to Meta's point, Meta has the biggest advantage out of all of those companies though, because they have the users and they have all our data. So they know how they have over 2 billion users, probably how much monthly? Over 500 million monthly.
Almost,
everybody
yeah.
use WhatsApp. Everybody use Instagram. Everybody use Facebook. Well, maybe not Facebook as much no more, but everybody's using Instagram.
Facebook. Yeah, there's Facebook dating now.
So they have
side tangent. Yeah, that rolled out like a year or two ago.
No, I did.
I'm not sure how successful it is.
But they still have the data, and that's the most powerful thing when it comes to AI is like that data. They have the data and the users. Now focusing on one thing and narrowing it down, that's probably what they're trying to figure out. But they have the most valuable thing, which is the users already. And the data. Yeah,
and it's just me, maybe as a selfish consumer, wanting marketing team just make me more consumer-facing products. Yeah. But I understand from a technical perspective, for us to have the best experience possible, we need the infrastructure, right?
Absolutely.
But it makes sense. Another thing I wanted to touch on is we've been talking about autonomous driving on this show quite frequently last year. It's been ramping up. We highlighted Cruise last year. I think they imploded though as a company. I think they went under, unfortunately.
Really?
Are you familiar with Cruise,
no,
the application? So Cruise is this is what we hear, right? So Cruise essentially is an autonomous driving company where you can order like an Uber. So you go on the Cruise app or before, you can actually order it like an Uber, and it'll come and pick you up, no driver. So it's an autonomous vehicle. They're pretty much based out in the San Francisco area, parts of Texas, and they're expanding. They did hit a pedestrian last year.
Yeah, that's why
they had
they
to go
shut
to court. I don't think that's the sole reason. I feel like Waymo hit a person too.
No, they definitely did.
You know,
I don't know. I didn't hear Waymo hitting anybody.
But Cruise unfortunately shut down. But Waymo now is pretty much the leader in the space, and they did a collaboration. And now, if you're in the, I believe, Austin area, you can order a Waymo like using your Uber app. So,
would you do it?
I've actually ridden in a Waymo. So.
What was that? What was that like for you?
It was. I think.
Question is, were you fearful for your life?
At first, it's at first when you get in the car, it's like kind of crazy because it's like you're so used to seeing somebody.
Yeah.
But they try to make it an experience. So they're like, hey, obviously they like the only objective thing that I didn't like is it didn't let me put on my seatbelt before it started moving. But
Uber drivers don't let you put your seatbelt on either.
But the one thing I do say, it addresses that. It keeps beeping. So it's like a beep, 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 beep. So it's like obviously notifying you to put on your seatbelt.
You sitting in the front?
No, so you could. There's difference. You can either sit in the passenger or you can sit in the back.
Definitely
I sat in the back. I sat in the back like if I was like in an Uber. So it was just like it was interesting. You set your music, set the temperature, and it's like it's personalized. So it's like it says like welcome. It says like the computer talks to you like hell. Welcome, Lo. Welcome, Darren. It'll say, and then it'll be like, hey, set your music. And it just took me on my little 15-minute route to where I was going. It is kind of crazy. Like in your first, it's kind of crazy, but you could see it in the sense of in the future it happening because one, it's eventually going to be cheaper than a regular Uber, but we don't want to obviously roll that out so fast because they're still testing on the highway. It's just really like a city type of thing, like just on roads. But overall, I think the experience was good.
Say that. This is actually a pretty big partnership. This is a crazy partnership.
It is.
Because, again, Waymo is owned by Google. They have their Gemini product. They have AI tools. think about, again, I mentioned earlier, like the EV infrastructure actually building out. Waymo's been driving on highways for years. They have so much understanding of the roads. Like they've been researching for years, literally. And now you say, okay, we're going to partner with Uber, and you can literally order, instead of coming with it, because they could have went like, hey, here's the Waymo app, and you can order this ride. They went, no, let's partner with Uber.
Well, they do have
Right?
a Waymo app, but the bigger partnership, the bigger partnership to make it easier to integrate for people is with Uber.
And last year, Tesla rolled out their, robo taxis. So let's see if they do a partnership, or they kind of know we're just going to do Tesla taxis, which are all also autonomous.
The only thing with but see, hold on, a couple of things. Last year at the end of the year, we did like a little areas of opportunity investment for 25.
Yeah.
That was one of them. I picked that one. I picked autonomous driving. One I know that's pretty big that you picked was robotics. That's getting a lot of push now. But the only interesting that I'll say with autonomous driving, that Tesla's trying to tackle is like you can buy a cyber, those cabs or whatever, and you can monetize it. So
you can't do that.
So that's interesting to me.
That is
so it's like
interesting.
you can essentially buy the car, and it's literally your autonomous Uber. So opposed to you like driving again or driving Uber for somebody, you can literally buy the car and your car will go pick up people when you're not in need. So I think that could be like an area of entrepreneurship that people can maybe leverage or like get into. I think that's going to be interesting.
I haven't heard
how
that.
that rolls out.
Yeah, so
That's cool to me,
that
it
is a great
So
point.
that's
Yeah.
another. So instead of you
Yeah.
physically doing something, you buy the car and it's doing the work for you, and you're getting paid
Yeah,
to pick up people essentially.
Yeah, it's the same concept of I can't remember, but yeah, basically you go to work, you park your car. All right, cool. My car has a shift now
What,
from 9 to like 3:30 or something. If you want it to be on time to pick you up when you head back home, and it'll essentially go make money for you when you're at work, or if you're.
I like the
Yeah.
idea of it, because you know how people say like, oh, your money should be working for you. Now your car is working for you,
Yeah.
or like your liabilities are working for you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
that might be a cool way to just put money back in your pocket just off of that. So I'm
Yeah,
looking forward
just,
to it.
knowing people, how is this car treated? Right, like people are pretty messy,
yeah.
So like, how does this all work? It, in theory, sounds really cool, and a month in, you're like, this car is totaled inside,
Yeah.
right? And you have to go get it fixed. So it might come with a lot of expenses, daily cleaning. I guess just a sense of if you're renting your home, like an Airbnb property. I guess
Pretty
it's
much.
the same
Process.
Yeah, same
Get
process.
cleaners and stuff like
yeah,
that.
you're gonna have to bake all that in, but
Yeah.
The only thing,
Again-
but it's even better. But like, I think that's that opportunity. What they call it, in product, we call it the TAM.
yeah.
Think about that though. Like,
No, it's pretty high, and
Right.
instead of someone saying like, "Oh, I have 5 doors," like rental properties, someone might come up to you and be like, "Yeah, I have 10 robo taxis, and my business is thriving," and it's like, I don't drive any of them.
yeah, you literally don't drive any of them. If anything, it's just kind of like, and that's cool about the Waymos and those type of cars. They like park itself. You don't need to like the maintenance, and then electric cars, there's really no maintenance, so you don't have to do oil change. You're just doing tires.
I think it's just window fluid.
Yeah.
I think
all your-
that's gonna kill a lot of industries. If you think about it.
Well, that's the rollback to stop
industry killers.
Yeah. I definitely want an EV segment. I'm a big EV fan.
Yeah.
I like Rivians a lot.
BYD is really good.
Yeah, we talked about them on an episode. They're a China-based EV company. Their cars are sick. So
Yeah, we seen them when we were in the UK.
Yeah.
We were in the UK. They advertised them. I'm like, to be honest, I was like, I could see why Elon is trying to like block off the market for them cars coming in, because of one, they're affordable, and they look really nice inside. Like, it's not, because I know Tesla, they specialize in the simplicity of like
minimal
the car.
look. Yeah.
Like kind of like minimalist look. But like those cars coming from like other places they're pretty nice. I can see there'll definitely be competition.
Yeah, that's why they're not here in the
Definitely
States.
be competition. Definitely be competition.
Yeah. So to Lowe's point, at the end of the year, we did pick like areas of investment that could boom. I selected robotics just because last year NVIDIA with their chips, they're just doing amazing things. Their stock price was soaring. They're just doing a lot. Jensen Huang, I had him as my vote for CEO of the year as well. And recently online, I came across a video, and there's tons of like robotics videos online of, acting like a human, or I think an area that like Amazon, not to bounce around, but Amazon's doing basically like a maid. Like you buy a robot and it could like clean up your house. They also have a line of like robotic dogs. Like they're investing in it and they have the infrastructure to do it. But online I saw a robot doing like martial arts, which is crazy. So just think about the movement of a robot doing karate, right? That's
wild.
That's a lot. I'm sure it was like, you know, a programming. I don't know like which movement it can do, how, you know, does that start in the industry? Like robo fighting or something?
Robo fighting.
Like,
I was gonna say more entertainment, like
from an entertainment standpoint,
like robo entertainment. But to me personally, I don't know how interesting that would be to like watch robots. But you know, it'll probably be for some people. You know, they want to watch robots. Or whatever.
It's definitely giving anime vibes.
It is. I brought it up just for the advancement. Like that wasn't something that was out last year or the year before, and all of a sudden now, aside for like EVs, now you have all these different use cases for robots. There's a clear push, and I think it's $20,000 to buy it. Not the one that does martial arts, the one that's in your house.
That's
not
amazing.
for Amazon. It's a separate company. I'm blanking on the name, but we'll post it on the channel. But yeah, it's $20,000. You can get a robot in your house, and it'll do chores and stuff.
I'm not gonna lie.
For
You can have like a robot that could like do your chores and like fold your clothes and go do laundry and stuff for you, and that's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about the programming. Like, how does it know all the nuances of your house, your home, and how to do those things?
Well, that's why they call machine learning or deep learning.
And Google and Amazon, they've definitely come out with robots for your house because they already do like the home smart home.
Yeah,
this would be in addition to your smart home. It already knows the temperature you want to set the house. It knows when you're coming home. It knows all this. It has all this information already. So in terms of doing your laundry or task or maybe watching someone's child, like I don't know how far it's gonna get, but it has all this information. If it's gonna, I mean, it's gonna be a smart home feature.
They always say that we have like a population, not a population issue, but like the new births. But now imagine if you can have like a robo sitter, you might be prone to have more kids because now you know that a robot's gonna watch your kid.
There's going to be laws against that for sure.
Oh, yeah, regulatory laws.
That can go left so fast.
But I'm just saying, that could be an idea. I was just saying.
So the amount of things robots will get blamed for that they didn't actually do is going to be out of this world.
That's what I'm saying. So y'all not worried at all
about
for sure.
Things
going haywire or backfiring or...
Oh, yeah. It's definitely going to break
in your house.
For sure.
Well, yes, because EVs break today. You know? Not that, not... an apples to apples comparison, but electronics break. It's gonna break. To your point, could it break and have a negative effect? Possibly, right? Cruise did hit a pedestrian, right? It has all these cameras and still hit somebody.
Yeah.
So
my funny thing was just like, what is a robot doing when I'm sleeping? I don't want the robot just standing there looking at me while I'm sleeping. That's kind of that's just like funny things like that. Like, do you turn it off?
Like, can you turn it off?
Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, these are questions we need answered. So, like, can we turn it off? So it's just interesting. But I definitely think you can be optimistic about certain tasks that it could do.
Yeah.
And
quick
from that.
Before we jump to the next topic, quick privacy concern I just thought of. It can technically see. It's gonna have like computer vision. It's gonna be walking around. You got to think about the Alexa and like Apple products. Like they're always listening in terms of from a voice like assistant perspective. This robot is always watching you. Always. Like, that's a level of privacy I didn't think I would be concerned in the future, but like always on video and always on audio are two different things. And
the government gonna get involved in some way with these
possibility
tech.
Of getting hacked is high.
You just this is interesting.
The only thing I would say is it's kind of the same thing with the camera glasses and stuff like that.
That's what I was gonna say.
And also in public CCTV. I mean, they always recording, they always monitoring, essentially.
Wait, hold on. Have you guys seen the clip of it's the Ray-Ban Meta glasses, but two college students, they built on top of the program.
Oh, yeah.
And essentially, they can, when they're walking, they can scan your face and have all your information.
So
they're saying,
that's why I was never too big on the camera aspect, because that's a real big privacy.
It was taking people's addresses.
Like, you can literally
just
look at me.
You.
Yeah, just a look. You can get all my information. That's kind of wild.
Yeah.
So there's got to be some requirements and some legislation put in place. You know.
Oh,
things
for
can
sure.
happen.
I don't know. We're in like a deregulation environment, so
We'll see. We'll see.
Shall see.
But then I wanted to touch a little bit on venture. Saw an interesting stat online. It's not mind blowing, but it was just a report on which state is attracting the most startups, right? So we're a founders building. No surprise, it's Silicon Valley. I shouldn't say Silicon Valley because it just said California 50%, but I'm imagining probably 45% of that is probably the Bay Area. The other 5, let's give a little respect to LA. It's probably more in the Los Angeles area.
LA,
Yeah,
LA is definitely growing in attracting venture capital.
Yeah, New York came in at 10%, which I was super surprised. And last week I saw a report on, I guess it was just a tweet actually. Someone tweeted out and said, here are all the startups that are in New York, right? Biggest list I've ever seen in a very long time.
Yeah, send me
Which is
that
pretty,
list.
yeah, so 10%. Yeah, 10%. Texas with 5% was why is Texas at 5? So I'm guessing that companies were typically building in Austin, and I'm assuming that they've actually left. Why is Austin only 5%? That was now I'm not saying Silicon Valley number 2, but that was an area where
Miami was
tech
a hot
companies
spot
are building
too,
out.
right?
Miami had 1%, 1.5,
I'm surprised.
which is
Miami
very
was supposed to be
surprising.
a hot
Where are the
spot,
crypto
too.
people? Yeah, Florida 1.5%, which I'm sure is just Miami. So 1.5%. Where are the crypto people?
It's a good question.
Like, what's going on? There were X amount of crypto startups in 23 and 24.
I mean, it went through like a little winter that it's kind of like thawing. It's kind of like thawing out now. Like they signed they're making a strategic crypto reserve and everything. So maybe we might start seeing more crypto currency companies or crypto companies start doing more things now.
Yeah, but Florida, Miami, nice weather, 1.5 is a little shocking to me.
You're
But-
thinking it's low.
Yeah, that should be at least. Again, I'll have to look at more states and what the numbers are, but if New York has at least 10, and let's say the outlier or the base is in California with 50%, I would have expected Miami to be at least half of New York, at least 6.5%.
What about the Midwest?
Like-
There's anything in the Midwest?
I didn't check the Midwest. The numbers that came in were targeting those areas.
Like
primarily.
coastal cities?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably
Sure.
the big metropolitan cities
Yeah.
and whatnot. I mean, New
Yeah.
York is 10%. You said 10% for New York?
10%. Very
Interesting.
surprised at that number.
Mm.
Not surprised at the 50% for California, but I am
Yeah.
surprised at New York's number.
I mean, I think it's all based off of just like where the support lives these days, right? A lot of founders, a lot of people in ventures, like where do you see most of them being based out of, right?
Yeah.
Cali's obvious, right?
Right.
New York is being seen as a tech hub, one can say, right?
Which
Outside
is
of
exciting.
Cali.
That's something I'll look
And
forward to.
I mean, besides these major markets, like you probably do have a few like emerging spots too that are probably coming up.
Yeah, Austin is definitely
Also, was supposed to be one.
Austin
Austin is
definitely is
one.
supposed to
Yeah.
be one.
Texas in general, but
Yeah, just the state of Texas.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just think that regardless of like where you're based out of, as founders, as those interested in ventures, like the opportunity's here. Right?
yeah.
So whether you're commuting or traveling to a particular city or you want to make your city known as a
Yeah.
spot, it's possible these days, right? The connection is there.
It's there. And actually, if you're a New Yorker, we can call ourselves a tech city. Technically, we have 10% of the market right now for startups.
Yeah.
So,
And I know we got New York Tech Week coming up
Yeah.
at some
Oh, yeah.
point
In
too, so-
June.
in June.
Yeah.
So
Stay tuned for that. Might have something special.
you
for
know,
that.
it might be more than 10% by then.
So let's get into some like entertaining topics. Like it's kind of
Yeah.
like switch it up. You know, we
A
kind of
little
been
bit.
talking tech heavy.
Let's congratulate your man, Stephen A.
oh yeah.
$100
He's my
contract.
not to be biased, he is my favorite sports commentator. I know he gets a lot of slack online, but he is good at what he does.
Yeah.
You
100%.
know? So
He's a
fan.
pioneer. He's a pioneer.
credit is due. So round of applause for that. That's a amazing deal. And I respect all the moves he's made in the last year with his show online on YouTube. Also going on different programs on Fox News,
sure.
The View. He's done so much
Yeah, he brought
in
in
the
his
last like 2
perspective.
years just to showcase like his skill set, and it's a super valuable skill set. I disagree with some of the jargon online when like former athletes think his job is easy because, no disrespect, they don't do the job the same. You know, it's cool to get those takes from your favorite former NBA player or former NFL player, but it's not the same. That journalistic background is important, you know, to an extent. And I think it shows, like, you know, who he is, you know.
100% agree.
So,
Like, in my opinion, Stephen A. Smith, he didn't just now make his money. He been made his money.
Oh, no.
Back when he was still grinding in school, you know, being a beat writer, right? All those years that he sacrificed with his family and his friends, basically leveling up his skill set and sharpening his pencil, that's when he earned his $100 million. At that point. Now we're just like basking in the outcome and the results of what he was able to pour in all those years ago. So for me, like, when it comes back to mentorship, I view Stephen A. Smith as a mentor, right? It's about learning from him and how he was able to just like grind, and he made sure that he was always seen as an asset and not a liability anywhere that he worked.
And I think, just kind of adding on to what you're saying, I think that's something that, you know, people as entrepreneurs, we gotta focus more on. We like to focus on the end product. Oh, he got 100 million, but no, we saw him grow. We saw him start off on cold pizza and continue to grow.
We saw him got let go from
he even got laid off. And came back. So we always gotta you know, attribute anybody's journey, entrepreneurial, employee, you know, anything. Like, we have to stick to the journey and not the destination. But, you know, I know we live in this microwave culture because everything, you can just upload something so fast, and you just like, oh yeah, I could just go start and do that tomorrow. Like, no, we got to really kind of enjoy the journey a little bit as entrepreneurs, because that's the best part. You're growing as a person, you're growing your business, you're growing your outlook, you're growing your community. Everything is just growing. So we got to really just be able to enjoy that whole process.
Yeah, no, shout out to Stephen A. Smith. Big move. This kind of sparks, I don't necessarily want to talk about this, but it's been online. Like, one of my favorite players is Kevin Durant, Steph Curry. Katie's been complaining religiously about the media, but I slightly disagree with him.
What do you say?
Just the way the game is covered, or like he had a disagreement with Bowenheiser, the coach, or Coach Bud.
Oh, I remember that,
yeah, he's right. They did clip it a certain way, but at the same time, too, the WNBA players have been complaining for years that no one covers their sport, that no one cares about them, right? You guys get all this coverage, and you're complaining about getting coverage. Why are you getting paid? The two are related.
And I'd be particularly not pissed, but a little perturbed about KD, of KD about that, because he generates a lot of, he should know, he has a media company. Yeah. He should know that anything is going to be clickbait. Anything is going to be selling. Anything is going to be a story. So he should know they're going to blow everything out of proportion. You should know that at this point. Yeah. So he shouldn't be getting as mad as he does now. I get it. You just want to hoop, but
and not that,
you're a billionaire because
of
not just because you're a business too.
And not to because he's like literally one of my favorite players. Like, you know, I'm just saying in the standpoint of, I was thinking about it because the WNBA players are literally like, can someone please cover our game? Yeah. Can someone please put our highlight up? Someone please follow us?
I'm on this point. We got to shout out the Nafisia Collier and Brianna Stewart for co-founding Unrivaled. That is, to me, one of the best sports stories I've seen in a while.
That's innovative for sure.
It is.
It's very
one-on-one tournaments. They got full court 3-on-3 basketball.
It's something we've been asking for on the men's side. Like, can we get a 1v1? Can we see LeBron against somebody? It's something that we've been asking for. So interesting.
I definitely did see that, and shout out to like all of the executives on behind the scenes that put that together.
Investors,
because that's a huge undertaking, and they was able to like launch that successfully. So that's huge.
Some of those players are getting paid more in that Unrivaled league than they do with the regular WNBA team. So shout out to the females that, especially in Women's International Month too, and I think we're shooting on International Women's Day as well too. So shout out to those women for putting that together and advocating for them, for their sport, because like you're saying, we're the NBA. Think about the contrast. I know the NBA has more history and everything, but think about the contrast. The women want to be covered more and respected more in their sport, and the NBA is arguing about who should be the face of the league, or not be in the face of the league,
right?
Because it comes with so much scrutiny.
NBA players,
NBA players, not the
which is ridiculous.
Like, I know that it comes. I know with the spotlight comes scrutiny, but that's why you guys get paid so much goddamn money. It's like that's part of the job. Like, that's why you talk to the media. Like,
no, that's you're opening the doors to a bigger conversation, because there's a lot of people who are not sports fans that don't understand why athletes are getting paid all this money versus teachers, doctors, people that are actually impacting lives
Yeah.
versus athletes that are just playing a
Entertaining.
game for entertainment and they're making millions on millions.
Billions.
All I ask for is just to, do the interview, guys. That's it.
Exactly. Like, yeah, if there's a little bit of scrutiny behind it,
Yeah, it's our job.
it's
their
okay.
job.
But
It's their
you
job.
know, like I know sometimes it can get a little out of hand, but hey,
Yeah.
that's what you guys get paid the big bucks for.
Yeah.
So you ever
I,
look-
and I might,
go ahead.
I might cut this part. I'm gonna say, but the Bronny James situation with LeBron.
That's what I was about to get into. So you have a problem with that?
Yes. Listen. Again, we might cut this segment
Okay,
because
hot take,
hot
let's get it,
take,
let's get
and
it.
we love LeBron and everything they're doing with their media company, and of course we want to talk to you guys. But this is strictly as a fan perspective and our point of view. This has nothing to do with reality and what's actually happening. It's just what we see. I'll use an example. I'm a Warriors fan. Gary Payton Jr. Is Gary Payton Sr.'s son, right? Who was an NBA player. I think, does he have a chip? Gary
Who?
Payton Sr.? Does he have rings?
With the
But
super
he's a notable player.
He's a
good
Hall of
defensive
Famer.
guard. I don't know if he has championships or not. But his
He
son,
does. He does. With
He does.
Miami, right? He got one with Miami.
Yeah, maybe.
He,
I
did,
think.
probably
okay.
he was on an 06 team. I think.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
he was. I think he was.
Yeah.
The reason I brought up Gary Payton Sr. Is because obviously his son is in the league, right?
Yeah.
It took Gary Payton 8 years to get on the Warriors.
It did.
It took him 8 years. He had to find his role as a non-shooting point guard, which is crazy.
Yeah.
You know, he's 6'3", he's dunking on everybody. He plays like they call him the little big man. He's like a power forward,
Yeah, jump up the
essentially
jump.
on the Warriors. But like, it took him 8 years to get to that spot, right? So you think about the analysis of Bronny. I'll go back to last year. The Warriors drafted Trace Jackson Davis, their power forward center, with the 55th or 54th pick. You probably don't know him, but
don't
he
know
started
that.
for the Warriors. He played a lot of games. Really cool. He was in college for about 2 or 3 years, or maybe he was actually like a senior. So he's a little bit older rookie. And the guys who not national media, but the local media guys, the game they cover the Warriors games. They scrutinize him all the time. Hey man, he needs to get in a dunker spot. Hey, he went to college for 4 years. He doesn't have a post game. Like they scrutinize him as the 55th pick. Obviously, Bronny's getting like national coverage, but dude, you're on the Lakers.
Yeah.
You're on the Lakers. You're on the Lakers.
I mean-
You're gonna get scrutinized. You're on the Lakers.
I mean, technically
You're a
he's on
non.
the G League team.
Yeah, but he got drafted 8-year guaranteed, $8 million like guaranteed deal. You can't play point in the sense of from a playmaking perspective right now. You can grow into that, just like Gary Payton had to grow into. It took 8 years. The comment LeBron made last year that he was better than half the dudes on the Lakers or something like that. I don't think Giannis ever said, his brother was better than guys on the Bucks. Stephen Curry, these are siblings and this is father son, but this is similar to Steph Curry said, I never want to be on a team with my brother. I can play the game for myself. Steph Curry is a good player. He's not Steph, but he's still a great player. And Bronny could be a great player. We can't say he's better than guys on the roster. Then he comes on the roster and he's not good from a fan perspective.
Yeah.
And again, he can develop into his game. But yeah, he's going to get scrutinized because he's your son, and that's just the game, and he's getting paid $8 million or $2 million this year or something. So he's getting paid. It's like a part of the job. That's just my take. Again, love you, LeBron. But that's just my take.
Yeah. I mean,
You're getting paid, and you're an adult.
I mean, that only thing I would say is like I agree. I love LeBron.
Yeah.
LeBron's probably one of my favorite players. The only precedent that I just don't like that sets is that if I'm a dad and I'm like, and I'm a pro player and then my son's in the game, so now I can approach any commentator or analyst if they're talking bad about my son.
Wait, not to cut you off. Moses Moody on the Warriors last year or 2 years ago said they were scrutinizing his game. Hey, you were the 14th pick, and obviously he doesn't get that much attention. But he said, hey, I chose to develop my game in the NBA. That's a decision Bronny made, to develop his game in person, live, in front of everybody. So that's what it comes with.
Yeah. So I just think it's just a bad precedent by him LeBron doing that.
Yeah.
Like because so anytime somebody says something, you're just gonna go over there and kind of just like
Yeah.
you gotta let your sons be men at the end of the day too.
Exactly.
You know
And
what I mean?
Does anybody know exactly what he said?
Who?
I saw a clip
Stephen
and
A.
basically
that made LeBron so mad.
I think Stephen A. Smith didn't say anything crazy or absurd. He just critiqued his basketball play, right? And I think that LeBron, he's looking at it not as a fellow athlete, but as a father.
Yeah.
Saying that, hey, my son achieved a goal of his of wanting to be an athlete in the NBA. He made it happen.
Listen.
And now you're killing his confidence by saying that he only got this because of his father or because of the politics and things of that nature. So,
But not the first time. They did this to Klay Thompson because Klay's dad is Michael Thompson, played on the Lakers. They did it to Steph. They told Del Curry, your son is too small to play in the NBA.
D1.
He's too skinny.
They did tell him.
They sent him to Davidson. He couldn't even get on a notable team, like a notable college team. Like, again, we don't know what happened back then with Del Curry and if he was, like, hey, my son actually can play or anything like that. If he went up to people, we don't know any of these things. But we do know from like the documentaries that he told Steph he needs to work twice as hard. It doesn't matter that I'm Del Curry. You need to work harder.
yeah.
Yeah, LeBron,
Like, I don't understand.
LeBron definitely has
Yeah.
a little bit of responsibility too because
It's not the
he
first.
essentially
It's not the
thrust-
first
he-
son to play in the NBA who had a father play in the league.
Yeah.
Yes, at the same time. But let's remove that for a second. There's tons of guys whose fathers played in the league.
Yeah,
For sure.
But I was gonna
Like-
say it's kind of also LeBron has to take some onus too because he also really advocated for this. So
Yeah.
if you knew your son wasn't
Yeah.
necessarily, I'm not gonna say Bronny's like good. He's decent. You know what I'm saying? He's still growing. You know what I'm saying? He's not a finished product. But
Nothing's wrong with his game. He has to get critiqued. That's the part of the game. That's why I'm like a little like, dude, this is the part of it. That's
him to
how
get
Mm.
we
better, he has to get critiqued.
You have.
Yeah.
That's the whole point.
True.
Yeah.
So it's constructive criticism.
Yeah.
But now, if people go overboard and the powerfulness that Stephen A's voice comes with, completely understand coming at him, brother, dad. But you don't got to do it in the middle of the game because I heard that he walked away from the bench and that's a little bit. That's
I
a
heard it
little
happened after the
spectacle.
game. He was walking towards a tunnel, and Stephen A. was on the sidelines, and he was like, pulled up on him, so we had to set and walk to the
I
tunnel.
was doing the timeout.
It was during timeout.
Oh, I
That's
didn't know
even
that.
worse because
Okay. So
I
it's
know
top-
they won the
so
game.
it was
I know
top
they
of
won
mind
the
for him.
game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know they won the game and everything, but you got to stay locked in.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not telling LeBron to stay locked in. That he's been doing this for
He's been locked in for
years. He's been
now.
locked in forever. But I'm just saying, like, you got to separate the two. You got, especially if you're approaching him as a father. You got to be
Those
able
are
to
two
separate the
two different things.
You got to
and-
separate the two.
All right, so if you were
Yeah.
LeBron, you're a superstar, and your son is on the team, would you have done the same, or would you do things differently?
I wouldn't have done that because you gotta like, how's he gonna get better? Again, Gary Payton Jr. It's not supposed to be in the league. It took him 8 years to get there. I'm sure his dad was like, I don't know about this. Tim Hardaway,
Right.
with Tim Hardaway Jr. Same thing when he was on the Knicks. Man, you gotta get better. You're gonna be out of here.
You also have to take into
Klay
account
Thompson's dad, same thing.
the
Yeah.
life-altering event that Bronny did undergo. I'm
Yeah.
sure
True,
LeBron
true.
is sensitive about something like that, so that's probably what plays into his mind too.
That's true. That's
Yeah,
true
no, that's
because
true, that's
we don't
true.
really think about, like, he had what
It's a heart surgery,
Yeah.
essentially.
yeah,
Yeah.
and for him to be 19, 20
Yeah.
or something like that. So the fact that he's still alive, that's a blessing.
Right.
Yeah.
And
So
playing.
maybe LeBron is looking at it from that perspective, like, my son
Yeah,
could die.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
that makes sense.
But he's on the
Yeah.
roster, and he
He's like, yo, bro. He like, yo, Brian is tripping. He like, Brian.
I agree with you.
I,
to a
yeah,
certain
Brian
I
tripping
understand all
regardless.
that, but it's just the perspective of he's an actual NBA player with a skill set that could be really good. He has to get critiqued. That's how he has to. People have to dominate him for him to get better. Is it going to be? Is it a bigger light when he's getting dominated? Absolutely, but everyone gets cooked. That's the part of the NBA.
Nah, you're right.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah,
You know?
I agree with you on that aspect. Everybody does get
Yeah.
cooked. Everybody.
Yeah.
LeBron
And-
still gets cooked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He might be the
Yeah.
GOAT
Yeah.
considered to some people. He still gets
yeah.
And
cooked.
think about it. Not this year's first round picks, but past first rounders, first pick, second pick, third pick, fourth pick. By your third year, if you're not balling, they are shredding you apart. Like your game. Like, why aren't you developing? Why can't he shoot yet? How come he's not a good
Yeah.
playmaker? He's not getting that level of scrutiny. It's just like, man, he can't.
Can we stay
guard
right there?
now. Yeah.
Do you think that's a real issue with how the NBA is covered? Do you think they're too harsh these days?
It's too harsh. No, because I think if you're just talking like how we're talking right now, and we're in a different setting, and we were talking about like our favorite player or how someone plays, we're gonna come at them, or we're gonna mention as a fan maybe a favorite play or clip that we like that we saw them get cooked on.
Yeah.
Like, we're gonna mention all these things. This is unrelated but related. Like Theo Penson on his podcast said Stephen Curry wasn't a point guard, right? And I was like, well, that's not true, but that's his opinion, and that's what he thinks, But it's like that's critiquing somebody, right? You literally are saying he's not a point guard. The dude has almost 8,000 assists for his career. He's the engine of the Warriors, and you're like, that guy, he can't play point. He's a shooting guard. If you're Steph, you're like, I literally got 4 rings. You're seeing that's a former player who played in the league.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I just boil it down to everyone has their own perspective,
yeah,
and we all see things differently, and that's the beauty of the game.
yeah. The NBA's in a great place. So they have so many guys that they
You think
can.
so? So who's the next guy?
The next guy, loaded question, but you still got Ant Edwards. Jason Tatum's I think 25 or 26.
Edwards say you don't want it.
It's not
I mean, you got Luka in the big market now, so
Luka Doncic. Yes.
Yeah, Luka. I think Luka. If he could, I think that's probably like a blessing in disguise. Him going to LA, because he's literally gonna learn from, LeBron about how to handle, being a man and how to handle taking a franchise like that to the next level. And he's young. He still has a lot of runway left. And who not to best to learn from is LeBron. And they play the same. They got their game is kind of similar. Obviously, LeBron's a little bit more. Obviously, LeBron's more athletic than Luka, but I'm talking essentially with the
Style-wise.
the style-wise, being able to make teammates better. He could shoot, he could drive, he could do anything. He could do everything. So if I'm Luka, I'm literally soaking up everything and trying to win with LeBron, obviously, and then once LeBron goes into the sunset, it's essentially my league, and then I'm on one of the most historic franchise. I'm an international star. I still got a chip on my shoulder because Dallas just traded me in the middle of the night.
Talk about that for a second.
So I still got a chip on my shoulder now. Like, I gotta win because the place I thought I was gonna be, they said he just bought a house like the week before he got traded or something like that.
Crazy.
And so I got a chip on my shoulder, man. Like, I'm trying to prove them wrong and prove myself right. So I think that he has a lot to look forward to, and who not to do it with than LeBron. And then hold on, I have a real question, because I was even saying this. I know they're still getting together, still getting the chemistry right. They're doing pretty well right now, but people forget that Kyrie and Luka went to the NBA Finals.
They did last year.
So if he could do that with Kyrie, what you think he's gonna do with LeBron? So
they're paying pretty well. Quick question for the group. Quick question for the group. So Luka was traded. Obviously, we all know this. I'm a two-parter. So one, was it a good trade? Is the first part. The second part of the question is the most obvious thing. He got traded because the Mavericks ownership didn't want to pay him. Mark Cuban said last year on Club Shay Shay that players are going to get like $300 or $400 or $500 million deals, and I strongly disagreed with paying somebody that amount of money to be your franchise player, right? So Dallas had the opportunity to say, let's save ourselves $345 million over 5 years, and let's trade them. The Lakers, the recipients of this, get a substantial discount in a guy who was about to get $345 million. You're only going to pay him about, I think, $250 or something like that, which is below, I think, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown's contracts with the Celtics. So I guess my first question is, was it a good trade? And the second question, do you think this sets the precedent for teams to say, I'm not giving that guy $400 million?
Well, I'll jump in. I'll say whether it's a good trade or not, it's subjective, right? Because obviously the Mavs have their perspective, and the Lakers, obviously, to get an opportunity to get Luka, that's a no-brainer, right?
Yeah.
So one would say that because the Mavericks had more information and detail about Luka, that the fact they went to ship him off mean that they were willing to make the move knowing all the scrutiny that would come with it. So from that standpoint, I guess it was good to them, right? Because they knew they was going to deal with. In terms of saving money, like you said, nearly $400 million on a player. Yeah, that's a lot of money. But at the same time, you got to think about how revolutionary Luka was to the Mav organization, right?
Yeah. Second coming of Dirk. Yeah, second coming of Dirk.
Second coming of Dirk, international player, a guy that can put butts in the seats.
Yeah.
To be honest, if I lived in Texas, I would go to a Dallas game, right? Just to be able to see Luka. So I definitely do think that he was a cash cow for them. And I heard that there was a report that they're raising ticket prices for next season, right? And it was they said talk about being tone deaf, right? So how you gonna ship Luka and now send a mass email to your fan base that we're increasing the ticket price the next season, right? What do you have to look forward to next season? Anthony Davis, who typically gets hurt all the time, right? Kyrie,
he's out for the year.
His ankle, his knee,
ACL.
ACL. So I don't know about the Mavs, man.
Yeah.
And I feel bad for Klay Thompson because
Shoot, please trade him back to us. I'll take Klay back.
He thought he was about to leave and go back to the finals.
Go back to the finals.
You're done. You're
He
cut.
should have went to the Lakers.
No, he should have went to the Lakers.
He should have
right?
went to the Lakers.
Lakers would have been a good opportunity for him, so I feel bad for him because he pretty much wasted his season.
I'll take
So-
him back.
So I definitely do think
Mike Dunleavy, make that trade, man.
I mean,
Yeah.
from
Get
the
Klay
only thing
back.
I'll say, the good thing about that trade is maybe this will wake the players up though too.
It did wake the
Oh,
players
absolutely.
Like this will wake the
Absolutely.
players up, like because I feel like they were taking advantage of,
Yeah.
us the fans, us the viewers, just to wait an All-Star weekend, just like how they
Yeah.
just don't try.
Yeah.
So this wakes the players up, like, hey, no, if I want this $345 million, the super max contract, I gotta really earn this.
untouchable.
Yeah, like I really gotta earn this. I can't just be just because I did this.
Lackadaisical and all that.
I did. So this is wakes the players up and also gives a little power back to the owners, which I think, to be honest, the NBA treats their players really, really, really well. I think sometimes even too well. So they like because imagine if NFL players had these type of leverage that they could, So I think this is a good reset to get the players more like serious. The playoffs are definitely going to probably be entertaining. I know we're going to be missing Kyrie. I was hoping to see like Kyrie and AD go against, the Lakers or something maybe, but we'll have to wait till another time for that. But I think it'll make it a little bit more competitive and makes it more interesting. But this is a wake up call to the players. Like, you guys are going to be making a lot of money with these new deals coming online. So you got to take this a little bit more serious because we're not going to be shelling out this much money and you think that you could just do whatever you want.
Facts. And I think they talk a lot about player empowerment and whatnot. And just to shift like to a different sport. So my man from the Cleveland Browns, he's looking to leave
Myles
the
Garrett.
Browns, Myles Garrett, right? And I saw a report that he tried to have a meeting with like the president or CEO,
The owners.
right? The owner, right? And his meeting got canceled, denied. So you're telling me like your star player is trying to have a meeting with the owner about his situation, and you're just gonna dub him. That says a lot.
Yeah.
Right? Where the labor feels like labor. Like, hey, I want to have a conversation about my career and what's next and best for me and my family.
Yeah.
And you're just saying, like, nah, like, stick to your work. So, of course, he feels some type of way. So when players feel like, hey, I'm expendable or, like, I'm not seen as a person, you're going to do what's best for you. So if he decides to, like, hold out for the entire season, do whatever, good for him, right? Same thing in NBA. I mean, obviously, if you're someone that's looking for a max contract, what are you going to do, bet on yourself? Or are you just going to play in the system? Like, I think Dennis Schroeder was in a situation with the Lakers where he had an opportunity to get
85
like
mil down the drain.
Yeah. What was it, a 4-year deal? Yeah. And he bet on himself, and he bet wrong.
He said he bet wrong.
So, and I'm at a point now where I look at my professional career, whether in corporate America or not, as a professional athlete, right? Guys like LeBron, he signs 2-year deals at a time.
Yeah.
Same thing working in corporate. If I land a full-time job at this organization, I'm thinking to myself, I'm only here for 2 years. They don't know that, but I know that, right? So if I'm only here for like 2 years, how am I going to optimize these 2 years to get the skills that I'm looking for, to get the compensation I'm looking for, to maximize? So by the end of those 2 years, I can reset and say like, hey, do I like it here? Do I want to stay? Do I want to move on to another organization? So the same way that athletes are being able to feel empowered about their career, I think the average Jane and the average Joe should feel the same way too. Like, you're the boss of your career, and you should be able to move the way you want to move, and just be mindful that at the end of the day, it's your life,
Yeah.
your
Ooh,
career.
you see how the way that boy tied it
I
back
know.
into sports. Don't be
Yeah.
hanging on national TV.
Yeah, no, that's definitely, can't say it any better.
Yeah.
Can't say it any better.
Oh man, that was dope. I wanted to touch on. Ooh, it's tough. I have a couple good topics left. I also have like a little speed round. I might hit you with the speed round and come back.
All right, cool. Let's do it. Let's do it.
Yeah. First question, speed round. Let me see. How should I frame this question? So the question is essentially, it's 3 buckets, and you can pick which one you want to say. All right. Who's your favorite influencer?
That's a tough question, right? Because I can't think of any top of mind, but
Yeah, how many are there?
I can definitely say that the type of women that I definitely admire in a tech space, I could tell you about their characteristics, right? Specifically about like those who are not afraid to like share their learnings.
Yeah.
And when I say learnings, I mean like, you know, the losses, things that went left, right?
Yeah.
Oftentimes you see people when they share on platforms, it's all about like me. Look at this new deal that I was able to broker. Look at this new partnership that I'm doing. Look at me at a fancy gala, whatever like that. But those that can really just say like, hey, these were some of the setbacks I had. So I really appreciate people that are able to like post about like their failure resume. Right?
Yeah.
Like you know about all my wins. It's very obvious to see, but like these are the things that didn't go well. And I'm going to share it from these learning, the lessons that I learned from that. So people who are in tech that do stuff like that, I love them. I really admire them a lot. And also people that teach, right? We're at a space where information is everywhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we all have the same access to this information, but the people that are able to distill it and explain it in a way where they're providing context or a point of view on it, those are the people that should be cherished. Because again, going back to the whole AI conversation, you get all this information, but if no one's providing context to it, then
how's it gonna be?
How's it gonna be relevant to your situation, right? We all have these various use cases in our lives, right? How can you apply that information to your use case? All right, cool. I got this job. I'm expected to do this project. I got all this AI stuff, but I don't know how to apply it to my job.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I just checked out this YouTube video where she explained, okay, cool. Now I know how to apply it. Shout out to her. Shout out to him. So I definitely do think that being in a space where you can have a POV on the information, share it with like your community, and know of the particular use cases or troubles or pain points they have, to be like, hey, if you're struggling with X, Y, and Z, here's how I would leverage DeepSeek, here's how I would leverage ChatGPT, here's how I would leverage these tools to be able to apply it for you to achieve the outcome you're looking for. So those are the types of individuals and tech influencers that I like, because they're not just all talk about look at me. They're giving you practical gems that you can apply after consuming their content. And to me, that's the best type of content you can consume. Things that are tangible and practical to change your life for the better.
No, sorry. And I didn't share these questions with Wadnes beforehand, and you kind of touched on my second question. But what conflict or situation hit you the hardest to make you say maybe entrepreneurship isn't for me, if applicable?
Yeah, no, I think when people think of like entrepreneurship, they think about like, hey, I just came up with this app idea and now I'm getting VC funding and I'm about to like, you know, go crazy at the next tech conference, South by, I'm at this, that, and there. Like, it's not all about that, right? It's definitely more so of a grind, because when you create your business, at the end of the day, you're responsible for a lot of things, right? You're definitely responsible for being able to provide a level of return for the investment these VCs are making in your business, right? So I definitely do think it's a lot of the soft skills that you got to refine. The mindset has to be strong. And at the end of the day, you have to believe in yourself more than your investors, because at the end of the day, like, this is your baby, right? So I definitely do think that entrepreneurship, even though it's glorified and sexy nowadays, it isn't for everyone. I think that Breakfast Club interview with Dame Dash, right?
We were talking about that.
That was an infamous, you know, video, and also conversation. Like, hey, you know, if you have a kid, do you want your kid to work for someone else, or would you push your kid to entrepreneurship and be their own boss, right? If you push everybody to be a boss, then who's gonna work, right?
Well, bosses still work too.
Bosses still work, but from that context, they're thinking about it from the standpoint of like, I'm a founder, I'm a CEO, I'm not working under somebody.
Yeah.
People are working under me.
Yeah.
Right? So that's a whole conversation there. But I definitely do think that the whole entrepreneurship thing isn't something that people should just like throw around and put on their IG bios. I'm an entrepreneur. Like, people are just so quick to say like, do you really know what entrepreneurship means? Like, do you have the entrepreneurial mindset? Like, are you able to literally go all in on a venture and be able to support yourself and your family?
And live with the outcomes.
And live with the outcome, good or bad,
Mm-hmm.
right? That is true entrepreneurship, right? Just because you're a makeup artist, right, or you're doing like some small things on the side doesn't make you an entrepreneur per se, right? You might be self-employed, but I don't know if you're entrepreneurship. So that could be semantics, but I definitely do think that when you say entrepreneurship or entrepreneur, it definitely comes with a lot of context behind that.
And crazy enough, you just highlighted that interview. It's crazy enough, that interview was 10 years ago. So just think about how he was already thinking. He had the foresight of what kind of like everybody's kind of getting a grip on, you know, these past. I think entrepreneurship like really blew up after COVID. Like, or like obviously there was entrepreneurs before that, but like I'm talking about like for like a mass media or like masses type of thing. It kind of blew up like within the next like 5-6 years, because it's like you have to have like you have to be in entrepreneurship now, like just the way the economy is set up. Like there's like, we were talking about it earlier at the conference. They're like, think about it, if because inflation, think about it, if you're paying $5,000, if your expenses is $5,000 a month right now, you know, accounting for inflation, how much is that going to be 10 years from now? It's going to be $10,000. So think about that. You have to figure out other ways to, you know, have your money working for you, or you making other outcomes. So that's why we talk about things like this on this podcast of entrepreneurship and entrepreneurship ventures or ideas like the robo taxis, investing into that, having that work for you, just different avenues. Maybe even renting out your robot to go shovel somebody's driveway. Who knows, yo? Like,
That's a crazy one.
who knows, like that. But we have to start like thinking that like that, because it's gonna get harder and harder as automation and artificial intelligence, as these things evolve. It's gonna get harder and harder to make money. So we're gonna need to be able to use these machines to make money, so we can survive. You get what I'm saying? No. And lastly, and I don't want to. That was a little bit long-winded, but that was always my thing about these rise of these machines and everything. It's like they have all these machines coming out, but how are we going to, or who's going to be the customer if nobody has jobs, if nobody, or if like people are getting laid off, all these types of things? Like, who becomes a customer? So that's always been like my thinking. Like, how are we supplementing that income, or supplementing that the money, I guess, that people are going to be making or getting? So that's why you have to. So in essence, that's why I say you have to be thinking entrepreneurial, or just thinking business minded, to just get extra money somehow.
No, facts. I agree. I think everyone should have a level of business acumen to them, right? How do I make money, right? What if XYZ happens? How does that impact my cash flow, right? Because if I'm exchanging my time for money, I know that my time is finite, right? So if I don't give this employer my time, so that means I don't make money. So I only get paid twice a month, but I spend money every day. Like, the math isn't mathing. So you have to be able to think for yourself and say, like, okay, and I know this is not a word, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Irregardless of you having a job or not, you should be able to think to yourself, like, how can I earn income, right? What skills do I have that's monetizable? Mm-hmm. I think that everyone should be able to take self-inventory on their skills. Like, these are the things that I know I'm dope in. I'm really nice when it comes to X, Y, and Z. Okay, cool. How can I monetize this? If I'm a good writer, maybe I could be like a digital writer and maybe write for people, or be a ghostwriter, or like create some sort of digital product. Like, really take inventory of your skill set so you can know how you can monetize it. I think that was the biggest blessing for a lot of people during COVID. Like you said, they were able to do that self-reflection and say, like, you know what? My job is cool and all. Like, it pays me, but like, if I had to like make money on the side, how can I do that? How would I start? And by taking inventory of your skill set, you can identify what you're passionate about. Not even passionate about, what you're good at, right? That comes easily to you, right? Your friends hit you up and say, like, yo, you're really nice when it comes to X, Y, and Z. Oh, you really think so? Yeah, you are. All right, cool. Well, I'm going to develop a little package and see if people are willing to buy it, right? Push that on social media, right? I think you should really use all of your platforms to push whatever agenda that can help you monetize your skill set. Because, again, when we're on these platforms, we're the product, right? We're the product, right? Instagram, Twitter, whatever you might want to call it. If you ain't paying for it, then you're the product. So if you're going to be on this platform, might as well benefit yourself by helping you in your bottom line and pushing whatever you got going on.
I would say we should wrap. We should still wrap.
Yeah. All right, man, that was crazy. But thank you for coming on. This was a great conversation.
Yeah, it was great. We knew it was gonna be like this, though.
I appreciate that.
We knew it was gonna be like this.
Do we have time for 3 takeaways to leave with aspiring founders who want to work with you, or
And plug yourself too, by the way.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, if I had to, speak to like early stage founders or anyone that has some sort of entrepreneurial idea, aspiring founders, I would definitely say, 1, focus on a problem you feel really passionate about solving. And when I say about a problem, like, I like to use this framework that a mentor of mine shared with me. It's called PURE, P-U-R-E. Is it painful? Is it urgent? Is it recognizable? And is it expensive, right? If you can identify a problem statement that fits the PURE framework, then you got something cool, right? Because again, a lot of people have problems, but it isn't urgent enough for them to actually look for a solution, actually pay for it, right? So you really want to be locked in on that. 2, I would definitely say focus on what exactly is your unique advantage, your differentiation. Like, what makes you so special that only you can potentially solve this problem, right? Maybe you're very close to the problem based off of your family or your experience working in the space, or maybe you're just someone that has a unique POV and you're coming in completely blind to this, but because of that fresh perspective you have, you can definitely revolutionize this space. I think having that perspective can definitely be strong.
Yep.
And the last thing I'll probably just say is something that I'm working on too, and I think everyone else can probably say they're working on as well, but having a bias to action. And to me, that basically means, like, don't sit on your ideas. Like, think about, like, the quickest way for you to execute on that, because we all have ideas every day, but, like, how do you know which one to execute on, right? And I think there's a difference between pivoting and quitting, right? Quitting is like, hey, you know, I'm not even going to attempt to start because this isn't going to be a fruitful endeavor for me. Versus pivoting is saying, like, hey, I'm going to give myself a milestone, maybe 3 months, maybe 6 months. If I don't see anything moving for me or any motion in that time frame, then I'm going to pivot to something else. But at least I'm going to start and try. So I think those are the 3 things I would definitely focus on. And for me, again, I'm looking to work with early stage founders that need support when it comes to their go-to-market. If they're looking to develop scalable strategies to get customers, looking to develop, like, messaging that actually resonates with people, and people say, like, damn, are you reading my mind? Like, how did you know that? Like, that's definitely me, right? Work with me, collab with me, because I'm definitely passionate about taking these skills that I've acquired and helping people, right? Specifically people from underserved communities, being able to lock in on who exactly are the people that need support when it comes to building their ventures. And I think that a lot of times founders, we spend all this time building great products, but we don't even try to figure out whether we have a demand for it or customers. So I think being able to be mindful of communicating your value to your customers before you even start building the product is something that's super important. And again, my whole marketing consultancy is called KAPAB. And for those who don't know what it stands for, KAPAB means capable in Haitian Creole.
That's dope.
Right?
That is fine.
And for me, you know, growing up, you know, in a Haitian household, I used to hear that word often. And for me, I wanted to really use that to empower helping founders that they are capable of achieving their entrepreneurial dreams and goals. You know, funny enough, this jacket that I'm wearing right now
So I'll say, get to the jacket.
played a role into me building KAPAB. Long story short, the pandemic happened. I was wearing a varsity jacket, a custom varsity jacket. I found a creative on Instagram that was basically making custom varsity jackets. I basically commissioned him to make this jacket for me, right? 94 for the year that I was born, Haitian American here, and my initials WJC in the back. It took me nearly 7 months to get this jacket.
Wow.
Supply chain issues, lack of communication, the whole bit. And I said to myself, rather than, like, being mad at this guy and sending multiple emails, if he was a client of mine, how I'd advise him to do business differently, right? And that played the role of me saying to myself, you know what, I think I got something here. And I'm going to wear this jacket as a reflection of just me being able to say, like, it all started with an idea, and now the goal is to turn that idea and act on it, and believing to myself that I KAPAB and I'm capable of doing this too. So I appreciate you guys for having me.
Yeah. Thank you for coming on, man. Appreciate
Sure.
it.